Yes, chemtrails. They're all over the sky. Just look up. They're above your head, dumping nanoparticles into your bloodstream so you can be controlled by radio or any other wavelength. And God knows what else it's doing. I have no idea. Don't believe a word I say. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob here on your Dreamy Dreamland station. And look at that. Yeah. Just. And those aren't contrails. I mean, these things, that trail goes for miles, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles into that. And those other clouds right here, they were made from chemtrails, and this was made from a chemtrail. And they get blown. It's just way high up, so there's the jet stream up there blowing it all over the place. The little particles kind of go and make the sky, instead of being blue, into silver. Yep, that's it. So, yeah, here I am. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Oh, I'll get down into the sun to warm me up a little. So here it is, the 4th of January, 2026, and yeah, we're in Venezuela, and Russia's dumping hundreds of thousands of men onto the line to try to break through. And Donnie's about to make an announcement like, hey, we're going to stop the war in 24 hours, but just saying, let's stop the war and give everything to Russia. I mean, don't believe a word I say. But 2026, here it is, the 4th day of 2026, and this is what's going on. Plus, did you know that almost 500 million tons of silver was taken out of Venezuela hours before Maduro was taken capture? So yeah, it's and we owe trillions of dollars on our debt that we have to pay before Valentine's Day, or we default on our debt. Ooh. What would that look like? Not pretty, I tell you. So, it's 20. It is just the 4th day of 2026, and we're just baby. So, all kinds of fun and games are going on. Who knows what's going on? Your Sensie Owl Bob sure doesn't, but I do know something's going on. And this year is going to be a year of change. And not just like collapse, but I think the general population is going to say, wait a minute, I can do better than this. If everyone did better, if everyone in every day and every way took the piece of the earth and made it stronger by being collaborative with God's love, not some church, not some, Mark said this and Matthew said that and Luke said this and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I read the Bible every day, and what it does for me, it's a tuning fork. I do not look at it as liturgy. I don't look at it as law. I don't look at it as Mosaic law, right? And that's what, when the Pharisees came to Jesus and said, here, who do you serve? Caesar or God? Blah, blah, blah. And what did that was the little lesson in ice cream church today. And, Jesus said, so, what do you pay your taxes with? This Roman coin, right? And whose face is on it? Caesar's. What's on the other side? It says the most important priest, right? Well, that's nice, but in reality, the dynamic is give to Caesar what's Caesar's, and keep what is God's in your heart. And that's the real story of that little lesson, that we have to keep God's love in our heart, and we have to keep Jesus' forgiveness in our actions. In every day and every way we take the piece of the earth by moving forward through forgiveness, not through anger, not through discomfort, not through any of the above, but through forgiveness, right? And we're being bombarded, we're being taken advantage of. And what's your thoughts on Maduro being kidnapped by Trump? So, like I said, it was definitely, I mean, the way they went in there, that really interesting thing is, the president said, so we're taking control of Venezuela. Well, we didn't stay there. We just took Maduro away, right? And we took out some assets, but we not there. We don't have boots on the ground at the moment. I mean, we have CIA and we have intelligence and we have paid people, but we don't have our army there per se. They came, they left, right? Now, what are you going to do? And what's this? Little Marco was there going on about how we have leverage and we're not going to let them, bring the tankers in. Now, what's really interesting is Russia and China both had assets, and they still do have assets there. Now, did we blow up their assets? So how do they feel about that, And what happens when Russia sends, or China sends boats, having a Chinese flag into Venezuela? We gotta take the Chinese super tanker. I mean, isn't that kind of, especially international waters, isn't that like, a case for war? I mean, come on, guys. So you have to look deeper. I mean, this is a year of change. And all this stuff that's going on is the mechanism for this change. And what is the change? So the powers, Hail Hydra, whoever, whatever hidden society, the cockroaches, reptiles, whatever. Who've been here forever. Before we were here, they were here, right? And that's another thing. I mean, first of all, the great maker is just that, the great maker. It's been here since things were made, right? But that doesn't mean we were made by the great maker. Now, everything that goes on in the Old Testament basically goes on for a reason, and God knows the reason and we don't, right? Same with the New Testament. But all of those things were written by people who had agendas, like, the popes and the Vatican and the different churches and you name it. And but what's quite interesting, and you can see this, no matter how it is swayed into the point of propaganda, it's still created by God, the great maker, right? And so we have no idea. And I love when people try to anthropomorphize God. There is no that. Let's see. They both have one very smile on this. Yes, exactly. So, and, Putin is getting his ass kicked but he's got tons of people he can throw in the meat grinder, and he's got not unlimited, but almost, the size of Russia is, 100 times bigger than Ukraine. And yet, here we're going on to the 5th year. And I would say Ukraine is placed better to keep going than Russia, right? If Russia keeps getting pressed economically like they are, I mean, they're selling their oil for $30 a barrel. It's not even worth taking it out. The only reason they're selling it is so their wells don't get frozen up. So anyway, this is obviously everything we're watching is a choreography, right? It's a dance. It's a soap opera. And I said this 5 years ago when they went into Russia. There was no existential thing. I mean, Russia and Ukraine had been at war since 2011, right? NATO's bylaws state that they don't accept anybody who's having a war at the time, right? The reason why Sweden and Finland jumped in, because it was advantageous for them to do so. And Sweden is going to make a shitload of money with their fighter plane that Canada has given up the F-35 for this other aircraft. The F-35 is a piece of junk, doesn't even fly. And I mean, it takes, 800 hours to get one flight hour out of an F-35. And it costs something on the order of $70,000 an hour to fly, where the Griffin which is an aircraft almost equal to the F-35, maybe not in its stealthiness, but in every other component part. But the most important thing is that the F-35, Canada or anybody who buys it, they are hitching their wagon to America, right? And America can turn that aircraft off, just like America turned Iran's F-4s off, right? The Phantom. If they had a whole bunch of those, bing, they just sent in a little message to one of the semiconductors and that thing, and the thing was just a paperweight. So, anyway, you just have to look at the past to see the future or the present. And Donnie is just a game show host. He is not the mind behind this. Either is little Marco. Our boys in South Park really have gotten it. Their last 20 shows or whatever that amount of shows that were from the beginning of 25 till the end at season 27 or whatever it was perfect. I mean, it really, when you have to get the truth from a cartoon show, that's when you know things are strange. So anyway, here we are. And what else you guys saying? Anything else? But you have to realize that China, United States, and Russia, they are basically, they work with each other. They don't like each other. They will cut each other's throats. But that's the whole motif of, what we have is we don't have capitalism. We have crony capitalism, right? And all those cronies aren't buddies, right? How do they keep each other, in line? Well, they have guys like Jeffy blackmailing them, right? And so that's kind of what it is. The only way you can run a righteous life is having the great Creator's love in your heart, in every day and every way, taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger. Right now, that ain't happening. So, anyway. What can I say? It's a beautiful day right now. That's what I can say. I mean, look at this. Let's see.
Good, how are you?
I don't want a green screen, but what I do want is, so what happened to those lines up there? They became clouds. Look at that. The jet stream just kind of blew them around, right? I got the line on or the line off. Well, I guess I'm going to go. I've been 18 minutes, and thanks for showing up. Let's see. And pretty much all you have to do is praise God, praise Jesus. And in every day and every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. Okay? Okay. Do, 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 do.